This video is about I can give my opinion about school subjects. Just a note here, this one I wanted to really focus in on school subjects instead of talking about just the classes, which may get into a little negative talk about teachers. So I found that if I looked at the subjects, then they were more likely to just focus on saying things like, I like math class, I don't like math class, and there wasn't as much about the teacher. So let's move on to starting out this lesson. The first thing I did is I asked them an open-ended question to make a connection to prior knowledge and just kind of connect to their opinion. So I asked them, what makes you decide like whether you like or do not like a class or a class subject? And I found that if they were novices or novice high, that they were saying things such as it's easy, it's hard, or they knew how to say teacher with friends, but they still had a lot of other words that they needed to know. So this was one way to address what they needed in order to continue the lesson. Now that I've determined what words they have that they can give their opinion and describe some of these class subjects, I wanted to actually show them how to say the different school subjects. So to do this, I started by finding different schedules from other target language schools and showed those to the students. I found a few of them to let them take a look, and to keep this in the target language, I had them categorize what they saw on the schedules. So I gave them this form below, and basically they categorize whether they love it, they like it, they hate it, or maybe they don't know because they haven't had the class or not sure. But this gave them a task, an interpretive task that they could do with the schedules that did not include direct translation. Next, I wanted to get a little talking in there, and I don't want to direct all the talking, so I like to do this turn and talk where they're partnered up. So here's how I do this. I like to give them these signs where one sign says we agree and the other side says we don't agree. There's something about those signs that make them feel like they're a little more accountable. So then I start off by just asking, so what about chemistry? Is that a required class or an elective class? And let them help me out with that. Then I say, okay, talk to your partner. Do you like chemistry? And then they talk out with their partner. Afterwards, I would then ask, okay, show me on your sign. Did you guys have the same opinion? Did you agree with each other? Or did you disagree with each other? And then to just extend it a little bit more, I would then look for someone who said we disagreed, and I would ask them, well, what did you say? What did you say? And then discuss this with the class if needed. Then pull up another subject. Okay, what's your opinion of art class? Discuss that. And this was a way that they could talk with each other, which got a lot more talking in than if I would directly ask each individual student in class. This was one of those authentic resources that was an amazing find. I was searching for return to classes and some other back to school types of infographics, and on this one, I found that it was talking about the students' opinions in Mexico of different subject areas. So, interesting enough, it said that the most loved class is math and the most hated class is also math. So, I showed this to the students and let them discuss this for a bit and asked if we are the same way. And basically, they were kind of like, well, maybe, maybe not. So, then this leads into my next activity, where they are going to poll the class so we can compare and see if we are the same or different, as this infographic says from Mexico. So to set this up, I have a download here, and you can download it there at the blue button. And what I did is I assigned a subject to each student, or sometimes I put them with a pair. Depends on how big your class is. But basically, their purpose is to go poll the class based on the one subject that they have. So let's say this person has PE. And then what they do is go around and ask people in the class, hey Chris, what's your opinion of PE? And then he would tell his answer. Either he loves it, he likes it, or he hates it. And then in that box, they can write a really quick little explanation of what that person said, which will be used later in the summary part. Then the last part is for them to take the information that they learned when they were polling the class and create a pie chart that represents how many people love, liked, or hated the subject. Then at the bottom, They can do a quick summary, such as, I found that the majority of the people like it because of whatever reasons they found. For the last part, give them a scenario, something that can kind of put everything together that they've learned for the class, such as me as a new student and you've invited her to sit with you and she's asking you about which classes she has to take or which classes she should take. So they can go through and say, you have to take this, it's required, or you should take this because it's fun. And then they can put everything they've learned together into a scenario situation. For homework, I would send something that's like this intercultural reflection for them to think about what classes and programs they've seen offered in these different schools from the beginning part of the lesson, and to let them think about what that means, from that culture's perspective. What's important in their education? Is it the same as what's important in our education? And be able to think about some of these comparisons.